What is going on, guys? Welcome back to this episode of the Road to Redemption podcast. I'm, as always, your grateful host, Cam Williamson, and we are going live today for what reason? For the longtime listeners of the podcast, what reason would I be going live? Because I tried to record an episode and everything went to shit. That's why. Recorded a 30-minute episode, I cried, I gave all of myself, and then guess what? The camera shut off. Battery didn't just die, because then the video would have saved. The camera shut off, killing any chance I had to save the video. So I had a bunch of audio, and I figured I could just release the audio, put a picture, it would all be good. Yikes, that's loud. Sorry, I'm monitoring myself over here. And I just decided, you know what? Let's reset. Let's go live. Let's talk to people, anyone who's around on a Monday at noon, and let's chat about seasonal depression, shall we? I, myself, would like to wish you a happy Halloween. I don't get much into Halloween these days, as I'm 30. I have a 6-year-old who lives with her mother in Indiana, and my 4-year-old is here with me, and my 4-year-old just hasn't really caught the Halloween bug. She doesn't care to put a costume on. It's her birthday within this month, so she's more excited about that celebration where she got to tie in a Halloween party type thing at school. Halloween is odd. I come from the 90s era where I saw Halloween parties at school. I saw them be not allowed, where you were not allowed to dress up for a few years because people were, protesting that it was evil to celebrate and kids should not be subjected to it. So the schools kind of canceled it out. Then it came back in full force, seemingly. They kind of edged its way back into schools. But I don't know whether it was the pandemic or whether it was just life in general and the way things played out. We stopped seeing so much door-to-door trick-or-treating, and now you see trunk-or-treats. You see places are like, hey, come in to grab a slice of pizza, and when you're here, we'll give you some candy if your kid's dressed up or something like that. And it's one of those things for me, a lot like the holidays in general, where I want to give my children fond memories and experiences, and I want them to look back and go, I had fun with my parents, right? I think that's important. Give them the experiences you never had, not the material things you never had, right? It's kind of the old parental, you're doing it right kind of thing. I also don't believe in myself forcing yourself into social norms, if that makes sense, i.e., if you don't want to go and you don't want to do something, but the rest of the world seems to participate in this activity, whether it be you always go to your parents' house on the holidays or gift giving in general or trick-or-treating or celebrating Easter or whatever. If you feel this immense pressure to perform during the holiday season and you go, yeah, it's great and all, but I really don't care all that much. Not holiday time. If your significant other has friends and they're all going to go to lunch and they're like, hey, do you want to come with us? Should you feel an obligation to be like, yeah, I'd love to come with you, even though you don't? No. You should be honest with those around you and go, hey, if this is supposed to be a day that we're all enjoying, this is how that would look for me. So having a bunch of people around, making food that I don't enjoy, like turkey on Thanksgiving, great, we can do that. We can have all the people over. We can create all the stress and hassle for something that's not worth it to me. I stopped doing that about 4 years ago, where I stopped making the holidays for everybody else, and I started making them for the people that choose to be around me. Getting into today's episode topic of seasonal depression. Why is seasonal depression so big this time of year? Starts about now. The summer warm waves are gone. I don't know where you all live, but here in Tennessee, it seems like overnight it got it was fall. It went from summer to fall. We woke up, the trees were orange and yellow and red, and it was beautiful. The breeze was blowing, dropped down to 65, and the day before it was 90. So that was interesting. That did a number on people's allergies and gave all kinds of new coughs and colds and whatever. So let's talk about that. Your mental health starts, or your physical health starts to kind of go down, right? We don't go outside as much. If you're already somebody who didn't make it outdoors a lot this summer, then it's about that time, in the words of Lizzo, to bunker down, right? It's cuffing season. For those that don't know what that is, that's a young person's term. Like you're handcuffed to one other person. It's cuffing season. Find a mate, lay on the couch, Netflix and chill, right? That's kind of the atmosphere that gets built around this time of year. What happens if you're single? This time of year could be sad because you either go home to yourself or just your animals and you don't have the love and companionship. Well, then you're bombarded with Christmas commercials, holiday commercials, Hallmark movies, Netflix Christmas movies, whatever, that all talk about finding love or a lost love coming back, and you're flooded by all this nostalgia, right? And that's great. But what happens when you're not in an emotionally designed environment, such as a movie or something like that? But what, for me, I find I have depression all year long. I'm bipolar 1, manic depressive. So for me, I can be sitting in traffic, and it's the first day of fall, and it's starting to drizzle, and the sky is gray, and the leaves are changing, and all of a sudden, as I'm looking through the water droplets on my window to see the light haloing through the water, I'm suddenly filled with an immense sense of dread, which is a word I've recently learned, which is a very cold and undescribable feeling of sadness and hopelessness. But at the same token, I'm filled with motivation, inspiration, and the feeling that anything is possible. And it wasn't until recording this very episode earlier that I realized why that was. And it took some digging. I've always cherished the moments where I'm sitting in gray, cloudy days and I get to see the rain coming down the window to the point where I can't really see anything else outside the window. I'm just stopped, either at a stoplight or something, and I'm not worried about the windshield wipers cleaning off the windshield, but I'm just enjoying the moment of how beautiful a streetlight looks and that perfect amount of drizzle where it's hitting, it's pitter-pattering on all your windows. Everything's quiet. You turn the radio down, and you sit. And I become flooded with flashes of moments of nostalgia where, for a moment, I'm at the high school football stadium on the field on a Sunday after church in the drizzle, running footwork and passing drills to no one but myself, hiking the ball from no one to take a 3-step drop, to throw the ball to no one, and in my own head, having this Rocky Balboa training montage to which I tell myself, one day when they make my life's movie, this will be a scene in it. When I'm the starting quarterback of the Cincinnati Bengals, when they make my life's movie, this will be the scene where I'm training as a young kid. And I thought that was cool and all, but at 30 years old, I know that's not how my life turned out. And I said, why this moment? Why would this moment come back to me? Football's not even something I've watched in probably 3 or 4 years. And I started to feel very sad. And I remember almost as if I got to put on an Oculus headset. I was back in that moment of being 14, 15, whatever I was, possibly 16. I was like a junior or sophomore in high school. And I remember almost like I was controlling myself or the view I had of the memory. I looked across the field, and across the field over a fence was my home, where I lived. It was just after church, and I started to see a bunch of cars pull up to my house because we were having all the people that we knew and loved, all of our friends from church, over to have this big Bengals party where everyone was going to bring food, and it was going to be great. And I just remember standing in that moment going, I'm so happy right now. I'm so happy. Even though I'm standing out here getting drenched in rain by myself, in this training montage in my head. But the way the trees look and the way the wind is blowing and, listening to Kanye West Stronger, bad time to bring his name up, but that's the song that was playing in my headset at the time of the thought. And I remember looking across the field, and my two friends from church had pulled up with their friends or with their parents, and they had seen me across the field. And they came running over, and, I threw them a couple passes, really feeling on my game and on top of my shit. I was like, hey, I've been out here for a while. I think I'm done. We ran back to the house. And I remember as I ran back to the house, I was looking forward to a few things in that meeting and a few people I was looking forward to seeing. And I just remember how fulfilled I felt in that moment. I got to do exactly what I wanted to do. I was going to be surrounded by people I loved, and the atmosphere couldn't have been designed any more perfectly for me than it was on that day. And the very next moment I have is standing in the parking lot of a building, and someone I loved was leaving me. They had broken up with me, and they were driving away. And I got back in my car, and I watched the tail lights drive away out of the parking lot. And I watched it through the windshield as the snow melted. And I remember that feeling. Cold, the despair, the dread, and the hope. Again, back in my Oculus-like, lucid-type dream state, I had to get back in my own head and go, why in that moment was I so broken? Obviously, someone I loved was driving away from me. They were leaving me. But then, if I'm so brokenhearted in that reason, why was I filled with such hope? And in that moment, I knew it was because, even though I love that person, I knew at the time it was the best thing for both of us, even though it hurt that bad. And I only knew that because I knew that this person that I was watching drive away was making choices that they wanted to make for how their life was going to go. And I knew that even though I was not a part of that they were going to at least go off and try to be happy. Dread, hope. So I had to look and I had to go, so why during this time of year do a lot of people get sad? Why do a lot of us have seasonal depression or the winter blues? Well, when you're forced inside, as we've all learned during quarantine, you're left to your mind to keep you busy. And during the holiday times, I think our senses are what bring on nostalgia, right? So when you see or you hear holiday music or decorations or smells, I know for me, the first time you walk into your supermarket and you walk into where the cart section is and you could smell those cinnamon brooms, it's fall time. And I'm immediately flooded with pictures in my mind of walking into my grandmother's house on Thanksgiving and Christmas mornings and sitting in the back, left seat of my mom's car as we drove down snowy Ohio streets to my grandma's house, and knowing that I was going to see someone special that day and that we would exchange gifts. And those are all memories that you have. And those are all moments that your mind tries to go, hey, remember this? Because we've had this type of moment before. And then, at least for me, you go, yeah, I haven't had one of those moments in a really long time, right? I haven't sat and stood at what is and been like, I am so full and happy right now. And as a kid, the holiday season is filled with so much hope. You don't have to go to school as much. Things are possible, as gifts. It's a magical time of year. Seasonally, you're supposed to fall in love and get comfy and make plans for the holidays. And I could just tell you, I think there's something really powerful about when someone becomes a part of your tradition that becomes almost impossible to break. Holiday seasons are very difficult because I think childhood memories are kind of embedded in the seasons, and dreams of gumdrops floating in their head. There's all this stuff where it's almost designed to bring you back to your childhood mentally and revert back to that and how magical it was. Well, for some of us, it wasn't always. My mom did a great job of always making Christmas feel special. The trees and making sure there were gifts under the tree and all that. But, I remember also all day long on holidays, I remember feeling so excited for something that I didn't even know what I was waiting on. There was this climax that was coming, and it wasn't the gifts, it wasn't when the meal would start. It was always like, what's the strongest interaction going to be today? Who's going to let you know how much they love you? And who's going to not give you shit about the report card that day, but just appreciate you for who you are? And then I remember always, my dad, he wasn't always around on the holidays. So for the holidays, usually he would come and pick us up after we've done half the Christmas dinner with my mom's side. He would come get us, take him to his family side where, we felt more like visitors over there. And then once that was done, he would take us back home that night, and where usually we would finish up with, our cousins and stuff like that. And if he wasn't able to do that because he was traveling, we just wouldn't see him. And maybe we would do Christmas with him another weekend or something. But I always remember, and again, it's just the way the brain works, but I remember every Christmas night, not every, I have many memories. I have one specific of sitting on my bed Christmas night, and I was just waiting. I hadn't heard from my dad yet. He hasn't called all day long. I guess that thing that I was waiting for was to hear someone go, Cam, your dad's on the phone. And then I sat and, family left, leftovers got put away, everyone left. Mom would shower, sister would go off to her room, everyone's gone, everything's quiet. And I'd sit and just go, yeah, you didn't call. And I don't think as a kid you process that. You just go, okay, well, then I don't have to wait for the phone to ring, so I'll just do my thing and turn on TV and just chill. And then I think as you grow up, you set high expectations for people during the holidays. And it's hard to remember that people have high expectations of themselves and what their holiday seasons will look like. And I've just had so many times where people's holiday magic never seemed to include me. I was not even something that people wanted to make sure that I was going to be around. Like, I feel like every friend group that I had, they would all meet up with their other friends for the holidays. And when people got like, "Hey, Merry Christmas" texts, that was for other people. If it wasn't like my mom and, those people. And when I was a teenager, I had such miraculous hope for what I thought the holiday season was going to be like when I was older. I thought it was going to be filled with my family, which it's not. I live far away from everybody. I thought it was going to be filled with friends that I had made over, my entire life, and it's not, because I left my hometown and I joined the military and I got myself in trouble with drinking and I had to rebuild my life at 25 years old. And because of that, I kind of painted myself into this very isolated corner. And I hate to admit this, but at the age of 30 years old, sober from alcohol, my fondest now memory of the holiday season is when I used to force a fight with my ex-wife just so she would go to her parents' house and I could drink and watch Christmas movies all day until I could call my dad and we would just talk. And it was a bonding moment where he knew I was having a few beers, I knew he was, and he knew I, had gotten myself into some shit with my wife, and we kind of joked and bonded about that, and it was... And I don't know if it was because, again, I had gotten myself in a situation where I couldn't be home for the holidays, but being one with my dad out of choice was something that I valued very much. I had to realize that to become that was toxic for me. To become the thing that I wanted so bad, which was to just have an honest, genuine connection with someone, I was pushing away everyone who was trying to do it, who was trying to go and be engaged with family and whatever. I was always running off for the person who didn't want anything to do with me. And, man, I think that's a double-edged sword for a lot of reasons, because it pushes away everybody that really loves you, even if those people are few. And it also gives mean people a lot of power. It gives people the opportunity to continuously break your heart. And I can just tell you, during the holiday seasons, I'm way more reflective on times like that. And I don't know if it's my Midwest nature or not, but I tend to have more of a, what did I do wrong that pushed this person away, instead of like, was that even a solid, beneficial relationship for both of us? For so many years, I think most of my relationships stemmed on, will you listen to me, bitch, and can I stand the bitching that you're going to do back at me about your life? And can we bond over that? Can we make jokes and, whatever? And I know this time of year, when I walk outside and it's cold, I guess I'll keep admitting shit about myself, but my favorite thing is right at nighttime, especially in the fall. You step outside, the sky is almost blue, but I mean, it's always blue, but You know what I mean? It's cascading a blue light across the sky. It's cold. You can see your breath. And I love nothing more now than lighting up whatever I'm smoking. For YouTube reasons, I'm not going to. But I love that moment of lighting, inhaling, exhaling, and listening to the silence that is no phone ringing. No one calling. And I just wonder, without judgment, every person that crosses into my mind, what are they doing right now? And are they happy? And that has become almost like my magic for the holidays, where when the weather gets like that, I get to connect with everybody whether they like it or not. Because in my head, for a second, I can think of you walking down the street swiftly. I can think of you rushing into a store to buy gifts that are stressing you out. Or I can think of you sitting alone on your couch with no one to call. I can think of you going to someone's house that hopefully you met that makes you feel good during the holidays. And, like for the people that I know and that I love, I know what they're doing. So I can imagine my family eating dinner together, and I can imagine, whatever. My kids sleeping peacefully in their beds, excited for what's to come. And I just go through the list of everyone I've ever loved in my life, and I've learned to do that without judgment of who they are to me now or whatever. And I get to replay every magical moment that my mind wants to replay. And I can just tell you, when you do that from a place of gratitude and not a place of loss, it makes the holidays magical again. Because even if it's all bullshit, right? And there is no real connection happening, just find a moment where you can be in nature whenever it feels most magical for you, because it's gotta be fitting for you. Just close your eyes in that moment and just see what your mind does. See where your mind goes. See who it tries to appreciate and who it tries to love and what it tries to teach you. For me, the holidays always teach love, which is not new. It's always my focus any time of year. But I guess one thing I've had to come to grips with lately, and it's just the fact of life. I think most people in life are not truly ready for real love. I think if we knew what real love was, most of us would leave it alone from an early age. Because the type of love that forces someone to remember all the times you never called, the type of love that, makes a child look for a person first thing in the morning, or the type of love that it's not optional, it's instinctual, it's the standard by which you judge your entire life by, and how you're ebbing and flowing around that love, right? That love is impossible without immense pain, because if you didn't endure the immense pain that made you consider whether you ever loved this person or they ever loved you, or why you were born to them or whatever, you would never have this beautiful, magical appreciation, and they wouldn't be up on this everlasting pedestal if you didn't make it through that intense pain and still feel that immense love for them. Because it hasn't gone to the test. You haven't had to endure shit. Most of the time, whether we're in love or not, the first time things get rough, we cut rope and run. And we leave people just dangling and in the thin air of time. And we forget, right? While you were making your climb together, you made plans. And you were a part of that plan. So in rock climbing terms, if I have a climbing partner and I'm planning on you, hey, I need you to lead me this part, and then I'm going to lead us on that part, and then all of a sudden you cut rope and run on me, can I make it to the top on my own? Sure, I can. Will I maybe meet new people along the way? Yeah. Can they have tools and things to help me? And sure, absolutely. I can find new climbing partners. But I cannot then forget that I had an original plan. I had dreams. I had goals. I had a vision of how this was going to play out. Well, I don't know if it's the dopamine of all the holiday songs and smells and senses that go on. I think a lot of people are thrust back into a former time when you were starting to form all those hopes, dreams, and wants. What was the magic you were going to bring to Christmas as an adult? That is something that I myself constantly was looking forward to as a child. When I'm an adult, this is how Christmas is going to be done my way. And it always involved all the ways that my mother did it. It involved a lot of the themes and traditions my father taught me, in the times we were together. It had a lot to do with the way my grandparents did things. And then there were ways that I wanted to spice it up and do it myself so my kids would remember that. But I think for so many of us, the holidays come with all the times the phone didn't ring, all the times that you sat in a room by yourself that was decorated for the holidays, and everything was still, and you were empty inside. And you were looking for whatever that connection was. And this year, Santa didn't bring it. And that's all right, because there's many years like that before, right? So then what? You age. And you lose sight of the magic. You lose sight of the possibility of hope. And Rudolph and Frosty, they start to be an annoyance and a reminder that all this is hocus. And that we've been sold on a commercialized dream to sell more products, to convince people that you love them by buying them more shit. And that by showing up to the Thanksgiving that makes you family or whatever. And it's all bullshit. The people that love you are the people that call you all year long, and they check on you, and they check on your family, and they just want to know what you're doing when you're going to the grocery store and what you're grabbing, and what was your walk to work like, or what did you see today that kind of stoked you out, or was anybody mean to you today? Can I listen to that? When's the next time I'm going to be able to hug you? Those are the type of questions that I'm interested in, not what did you buy this person for Christmas, or how much do airline tickets cost, or what Amazon Prime deals are going to be the best grab to get before time runs out. I can tell you no matter what gift I get, Nothing will be better than the hug I get on Christmas morning that's not attached to a gift. It's just the good morning hug that I always get. And at night, when I step outside and maybe it'll be cold enough that I can watch my breath just leave, and I can think of every person I've loved and still love to this day, and have a moment for each one of them, and just hope that they're sitting around a table filled with love and filled with all the things that make life magical, Connect in any way that we can. There's a lot of us that we've lost a lot of people in the last few years. Connect through memory. All the times, like for me, my grandfather, this would be the third or third Christmas now without him. And it's like, man, he was Santa a lot of times for our family, and we sat on his lap. He passed out gifts like all the years of my young life. So that's not going to be a Christmas that goes by that doesn't go through my head. And that's tough because Christmas doesn't look like that anymore. And Thanksgivings don't look like that anymore. So that magic is forever changed, And that's life. It's like, it's cliche to say, but as fall kills off the trees every year, so do our lives change. Every year. Something else changes, something else is foundationally different. And I feel like every year at this time, myself, I'm left going, yeah, everything is not what I thought it was going to be. Some things are better, some things didn't go the way I thought. And then I feel like in the next month or so, we all start to convince ourselves, well, this is going to be the year. This will be the year that I'm finally the happy one. And maybe we do stick to the gym, or maybe we do that thing, write the book, do the whatever. But what do you do? What do you do to finally fill the magic void? Or maybe you don't, Maybe you let kids enjoy it for as long as it is to be enjoyed. And when the storybook ends and they find out the truth, you have, all the hard conversations with them. Santa's not real. People don't rush back and drive up the snowy driveway and have the talk. People don't call while they're sitting in airports just to say I love you. People don't show up. People stay silent. People grow apart. Families change and families grow. They get bigger. More people come into them as people leave. Younger generations come up. And I'm starting to see that now, and that's pretty cool, I see my cousins who will always be kids in my eyes. They're grown now, and they're getting married, and they're having their own families, and I'm watching my nephew be little in my family, and that's cool. But I also realize my kids don't get to experience that because I live so far away. So it's, I think in the holiday times, a lot of us realize you sleep in the bed you made. If you distance yourself all year long, but you have magical feelings of what the holiday should look like that involve people, well, you're setting yourself up for failure on that one. And maybe that idea that the holidays should be magical is not something we should be selling anyway. I don't know. I've always felt like in the cold air of the fall and the winter, there is a magic. And maybe I'm just a romantic, or maybe I've seen too many Hallmark movies, but I don't know about y'all. I feel like you can almost speak and hear the hearts of other people in a magical way during this type of year, where if you step outside, especially when I was back home in Ohio, you step outside and it's cold, man. It's cold. You would only be out there to smoke a Bernie or something. Step outside and finally peace and quiet. You rip one, or you just step outside and take a breath and you exhale. Whatever your heart longs to say, I feel like it comes out. And I feel like whether wanted or not, whoever's a part of that heart cry feels it in that moment. They may not be cognizant of what they're feeling, but a true energy transfer happens in a very real way during this time of year, where when you think about someone, they know it. When you think about someone, they call. When you remember someone, they're alive again for a moment, even if just for that moment. And that is magic. When you think of people who are no longer with us, and you have that memory of them passing you a plate or sitting in that chair, well, there they are for a moment. And that's magic. It is. And it's hard to appreciate. It's hard to get to that place when icicle lights and stars on trees and decorating stockings and buying gifts and whatever, when all that is right in front of you, on top of however TikTok and Instagram Reels are telling you should decorate your house, and Pinterest is getting your attention on the foods to make you seem the most festive. Remember, you're blocking yourself away. You're pushing out all the things that your heart is attaching to those ideas. Who would you want to share that meal with? Who would you want to walk down that decorated hallway with, up the stairs to your bed? Those are the questions you should be asking, and then go call that person. Tell them that you want to do that with them. And if it's embarrassing, good. It's something exciting, new, you guys could do together. If you have some sorries to say, or, you got some my fucking bads to go on, do that shit. Because you could be the magic in someone's holiday season just by allowing your heart to speak and living in a way that reflects that conversation. An honest conversation between you and your soul's fire, where during a time of year when anything is supposed to be possible, you let your heart speak to you in a real way that feels genuine and not forced. And then you act on that, and you see where it takes you. I hope that everyone can find some magic this holiday season. Even if you have to go be it, and be it to everyone. Be kind to everyone you see. Maybe you could be the magic to a stranger you don't even know. maybe you meet someone that, you guys become the magic for each other for years to come. A friend, a partner, someone who becomes family. You don't know. Be open this holiday season. Be open to magic. Be open to spectacular stories unfolding, and be open to love. But understand it's opening yourself up to immense pain and immense letdown and immense loneliness too. The possibilities are endless, and that's a beauty of a motherfucker. So I love you guys so much. I appreciate the one or two of you that hung out this entire time. Maybe more people will check it out once it's posted. Maybe not. I love you guys. Thanks for hanging out with me.